A Federal Reserve governor with a lifetime appointment just got the pink slip. The crime? Alleged mortgage fraud. Her response? Lawyer up and declare war on the president. This isn't just another Trump firing. It's a constitutional showdown that could redefine presidential power forever. Markets wobbling, Wall Street's panicking, the Fed chair's gone silent, and the woman at the center of it all is refusing to leave her office. Lisa Cook says Trump has no authority to fire her. Trump says that he's ready for the legal cage match. What happens next will determine whether presidents can hold central bankers accountable for crimes or whether the Fed remains an untouchable fourth branch of government. Keep on watching. And when the Federal Reserve gets this shaky, your financial security matters more than ever. That's why I trust my Patriot Supply for real security, food security. Their 3-month emergency food kit saves you $100 right now. Get 2,000 calories daily for 90 days. Real meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, drinks, snacks, not survival rations, actual food your family will eat. Stored in rugged buckets, last 25 years, made in the USA, no MSG, no junk ingredients. While Wall Street panics over Fed drama, smart Americans are securing what really matters, feeding their families when systems fail. Fast, free shipping, 30-day returns, disaster guarantee. Don't wait for the next crisis. Go to preparewithgary.com. That's preparewithgary.com. Real security starts with food security. All right. The battle against the Federal Reserve is heating up. Here is the letter that was sent just 24 hours ago to Lisa Cook. She got cooked. We read some of this yesterday, but now the fallout continues. Let's check in. What is AJ saying about this? I just saw him here in our feed. Let's check in with AJ.
Last night, Trump fired the private Federal Reserve Board Governor, Lisa Cook, citing the overwhelming evidence that his task force already has of mortgage fraud by her. And they're going after all these people. They're going after them for income tax evasion, you name it. The grand juries are open. They're open in Pennsylvania. They're open in Virginia. They're open in Missouri. They're open in New York. They're opening up in Florida. And I've got that right from the head of the task force. They're open. And the subpoenas are going out, and the grand juries are convening as we speak. And this is Trump taking the gloves off. The EU private central bank owns the majority of the Federal Reserve. That's on record. They've gotten interest rate cuts. We haven't. And we need interest rate cuts. And in the past, they gave massive interest rate cuts to Democrats. This is an attack on the economy, on the housing market, on everybody. Trump's recovery is barely working and would supercharge if they did this. So he's going to bat for America. It creates a constitutional crisis. He really can't fire her because it's a private Federal Reserve. But Congress can revoke its charter. But he's bringing it to a head to point all this out. So Trump is hitting on all cylinders when it comes to taking on the deep state compared to what he did 8 years ago. It took months to get the task forces set up, to vet the people, thousands of them. It's now rolling. It's now happening. That said, I'm going to do another video on Trump's executive order, a year in jail for burning a flag, 100% unconstitutional, 100% violation of the First Amendment, and then they could ban burning Israeli flags or banning, the Union Jack flag or banning the Dallas Cowboy flag. It's just like banning the world.
Okay, so he mentioned the IRS. Roger Stone, speaking of the Federal Reserve and the IRS, they're intertwined. Both beasts birthed during the same year. Roger Stone said that repealing the 1913 Federal Income Tax Act is not just a random idea. He writes, in June, for the first time in 15 years, the U.S. ran a surplus thanks to the incredible tariff negotiations of President Trump and Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent.
I also think the idea of repealing the 1913 Federal Income Tax Act is not just a random thought. At the rate we are going, in the month of June, for the first time in 15 years, the United States government actually ran a surplus, thanks to the incredible tariff negotiations of President Donald Trump, aided by Scott Bessent. I also think
President Trump running a surplus. Now, Alex had something to say that Trump cannot fire, but this is the letter. We read this yesterday, And it says here, the Federal Reserve Act provides that you may be removed at my discretion for cause, right there, Section 12 USC 242. And he has determined that there is sufficient cause to remove you from your position because of the criminal referral dated August 15th, 2025. So that's the basis for the removal. Here's President Trump weighing in on that removal in the cabinet meeting earlier today.
Things that we found out. Oh, sure. Always. You always have legal fights. Look, I had a legal fight that went on for years with crooked people, with very horrible people, people that have been found out now between John Ratcliffe and Tulsi and Pam. And I mean, the things that we found out, of course, it's a very, very sad group of people. But no, she seems to have had an infraction, and she can't have an infraction, especially that infraction, because she's in charge of, if you think about it, mortgages, and we need people that are 100% above board, and it doesn't seem like she was. Oh, sure. Oh,
it doesn't seem like she was, and that's exactly why President Trump said that he is ready. Here's more.
Legal act.
Questions you
On a serious note, when it comes to Fed Governor Lisa Cook, her lawyer has said that they're going to be filing a lawsuit challenging this legal action. What is your response? Are you prepared for a legal fight? And then a little bit more.
Oh, sure. Always. You always have legal fights. Look, I had a legal fight that went on for years with crooked people, with very horrible people, people that have been...
Okay, so that was the actual question that brought about that message here. Bitcoin News reporting Trump has no authority to remove Lisa Cook from the Fed's board, her attorney Abbe Lowell said. He called the move illegal and based only on referral letters, adding that they will file a lawsuit to challenge it. The Guardian headline here, Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook to sue Trump administration over its attempt to fire her. No authority, lacks factual or legal basis to fire the Fed governor. Well, the allegations have been made. Sky News reporting a governor of the U.S. Central Bank plans to file a lawsuit. Lisa Cook's attorney says the president has no authority. Let's check in with their hit.
Against some breaking news to bring you now, coming to us from the United States, reporting from our colleagues at NBC News that Lisa Cook, who is the governor of the Federal Reserve, plans to file a lawsuit against President Trump over his attempt to fire her. A statement from her attorney, Abbe Lowell, said President Trump has no authority to remove Lisa Cook. His attempt to fire her, based solely on a referral letter, lacks any factual or legal basis. We will be filing a lawsuit challenging this illegal action. President Trump has looked to fire Lisa Cook over what he says are irregularities in the way that she got a mortgage, and it's just a...
Let's go. We got more on that. The Rabbit Hole writes, being the first black woman to do X is not a job qualification. He's quote tweeting Hakeem Jeffries' statement on Donald Trump's baseless attack on Dr. Lisa Cook. I'm not sure how baseless it is if there's been criminal referrals. Hakeem Jeffries writes, Dr. Lisa Cook is the first black woman ever to serve on the Federal Reserve Board of Governors. Notice how he opens up. He immediately throws down the race card, as if this is some kind of racially motivated attack. No, it's an integrity-motivated attack. He says Donald Trump is trying to remove her without a shred of credible evidence that she has done anything wrong. To the extent anyone is unfit to serve in a position of responsibility because of deceitful and potentially criminal conduct, it is the current occupant of the White House. The American people are not buying your phony projection and slander of a distinguished public servant. Okay. Yeah, well, you just disqualified yourself by just dropping the race card right out the gate there. Trump fired her 24 hours ago. She was appointed by Joe Biden, Yahoo Finance. She's denied the president's authority to fire her, but she hasn't denied the allegation. Stone X senior advisor John Hilsenrath says.
And it is unprecedented. I've never seen anything like it. I mean, the Fed has come under pressure in the past from the White House. Famous cases in the 1980s, Paul Volcker almost resigned when Reagan administration officials pushed him to cut interest rates in the 1970s. Arthur Burns was under a lot of pressure. But I haven't seen anything like this where a governor is being told to step down, is being fired by the president. And there's a lot of ironies in this case. The president of the United States himself has been found guilty of financial fraud in the Letitia James case in terms of the Trump Organization.
Hold it there, buddy. Hold it. That case was thrown out. Trump won. Are you going to bring that up? Are you going to bring that up? We just covered it here, pal.
And also in the Alvin Bragg case with regard to payments to adult actresses. So this is high drama, and there's a lot at stake for the Fed.
Yeah, and on the one hand, John, the White House saying that this is about that alleged mortgage fraud. But on the other, many are viewing it as Trump trying to remake the Fed in his image. How do you weigh that legal issue versus the institutional precedent and what we could see from the Fed moving forward if this were to go through?
Right. Don't care what you have to say. Yeah, we're going to skip over you, buddy. Because if Trump wants to make over the Fed in his image, I'm all for it. All right? Fire them all. End the Fed. Shut it down. If that's what we have to do, if that's Trump's idea, let it be. Lael Brainerd, this is Bloomberg TV, so be careful. Lael Brainerd, former vice chair of the Federal Reserve, says that the independence of the Federal Reserve is under attack, with President Trump trying to fire Lisa Cook, the independence. Yeah, foreign-owned entity.
I'm joined now by someone who intimately understands the Fed, was there for 10 years, and most recently was the Fed vice chair under Jay Powell, who is still now the chair, and that's, of course, Lael Brainerd. Lael, thank you so much for joining us this morning. As we see this standoff between President Trump and Governor Cook, we have yet to hear from the Fed itself. What kind of response do you think we can expect from the institution?
Well, I think the Federal Reserve is in an incredibly difficult position here, but you have to remember, this is not about an individual governor. This is really an unprecedented attack on the independence of the Federal Reserve as an institution. There is...
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! I'm all for it. Let's go, baby.
Nobody in the Federal Open Markets Committee, the Monetary Policy Setting Committee, that can't be thinking, well, what does this mean for me? And so any member of the board, presumably, is going to worry that they, too, could be subject to this kind of political pressure.
They should be worried. Every single one of those globalist central bankers. They should be shaking in their loafers.
And that fundamentally undermines the institutional independence of the Fed, which means higher inflation potentially, less credibility, even higher long-term interest rates, bad for the economy.
Do you think this can actually impact how members are thinking about monetary policy?
Well, I just think the implication, if any member of that board could come under this kind of political pressure from the White House, and of course we saw that...
It's not political pressure. He fired her ass because she had allegedly cooked the books on her mortgage. All right? If these are the people determining monetary policy in the United States, cooking the books, yeah, bye-bye.
Kind of pressure on the chair earlier this year, I think that does really put a higher premium on whether they're going to be willing to speak their minds, to dissent on key votes if necessary. I think it really does create unprecedented risks.
The president's letter...
Yeah, let's go, baby. I hope they're all scared. What do we have this? 22 hours ago. Of course, like clockwork, here is globalist stooge economist Paul Krugman doing the master's bidding and bashing Trump about firing Fed Governor Lisa Cook. There is a reason the Federal Reserve was created in secret before Christmas on private Jekyll Island. There is a reason Andrew Jackson went to war to prevent the second bank of the United States from debt enslaving Americans. The Federal Reserve is neither federal nor has reserves. It is an international private banking cartel that privatizes the gains and socializes the losses. Here is Paul Krugman, the Obama-Biden economic advisor, who was one of the dumbest cronies alive, who once said we should fake an alien invasion to print money to jumpstart the economy. No, I'm not kidding. He's lying to you when he says the Federal Reserve is not political. All they are is political. That's why the interest rates have not moved. He was a big fan of money printing with zero interest rates for Wall Street after they almost destroyed us after the Lehman Brothers for years. The goal was to make the banks whole with TARP off the backs of the American middle class, and they did just that, and savers were punished. The Fed was always lowering rates and keeping them low while Democrats were in office or before an election. Obama's average interest rate was 0.27% every 2 terms. The Fed are Keynesian. They are not part of the globalists. They do not want Trump. They are part of the globalists. They do not want Trump or any populists in power. There's a reason all of your dollar value has crashed, and it's because of the Federal Reserve. Just listen to Ron Paul. Listen.
Monetary policy from history, no member.
Rachel.
So we got some breaking news just.
Rachel Maddow, MSNBC.
As we are coming on the air tonight, President Trump is purporting to have fired a member of the Board of Governors of the Federal Reserve. Her name is Lisa Cook. She's been a Fed governor since 2022. She's the first black woman to serve on the Fed board.
I was waiting for that. Oh, of course. Right on cue. Drop the race card.
And its 111-year history. And in that entire 111-year history, no member of the Fed's board has ever been fired by any president. And that's not because presidents haven't wanted to do it. It's because a president is not legally allowed to fire members of the Fed board just because he feels like it. The Federal Reserve Board is an independent body charged with setting monetary policy for the United States. It was created to be independent precisely so presidents could not monkey around with stuff like interest rates. Trump has been threatening for months to fire the head of the Federal Reserve, Jerome Powell, saying that his administration has uncovered some kind of evidence that she committed mortgage fraud. Ms. Cook has not been charged with any wrongdoing. She has certainly not been convicted of anything. But tonight, in a letter to Lisa Cook that he posted online, Trump says he's firing her because of the unproven fraud accusations his administration has produced this evening. Nobel Prize-winning economist Paul Krugman writes this: "We are all Lisa Cook." He says, quote, "The message here clearly isn't don't commit fraud," which would be laughable coming from Donald Trump, of all people, nor, despite what some commentators have said, is it all about revenge, although Trump is indeed a remarkably vindictive person. Mainly, Krugman says, quote,
I can't take anymore.
Jekyll Island, November 1910. 7 bankers meeting in secret to create America's central bank. We just can't call it that. The 1907 panic nearly destroyed us. Banks failed, fortunes vanished. We want to control America's money supply, create booms, trigger busts, and profit from both. And how will we do that? We'll create money from nothing, loan it to the government, and charge interest. Legal counterfeiting, my friends. But there's a cost. Every dollar we print steals value from existing dollars. It's a hidden tax that flows directly to us. And it gets worse. If we ever get off the gold standard, governments can print money for wars. Endless wars become possible and profitable. Since Americans hate central banks, we'll call it the Federal Reserve. Sounds governmental, doesn't it? It's not. The president will appoint board members, but we'll pick who he appoints. We'll have 12 regional banks. Looks decentralized, democratic even, but New York banks control them all. That's us. You're probably wondering how we're going to get this through Congress. December 23rd, 1913. Most of Congress home for Christmas. Perfect timing for passing unpopular legislation. I'll publicly oppose our own bill in Congress. They'll pass it thinking they beat Wall Street. We'll fund university chairs, write the textbooks. They'll teach our system as economic science. Beautiful. Every American born after this will inherit debt on money we created from nothing. Generational servitude. The Federal Reserve. Not federal, no reserves, but everyone will think it's their government protecting them.
Good afternoon.
Yeah. I've actually been to Jekyll Island, and I actually had lunch with G. Edward Griffin in the room where the Federal Reserve was born. Here's Paul Krugman.
To get people to do, I mean, much better, obviously, to build bridges and roads and healthcare clinics and schools. But I actually have a serious proposal, which is that we have to get a bunch of scientists to tell us that we're facing a threatened alien invasion. And in order to be prepared for that alien invasion, we have to do things like build high-speed rail and then once we've recovered, we can say, whoops, there were no aliens. But look, I mean, whatever it takes.
Whatever it takes.
Bro, what the fuck? What? Why isn't my phone focusing? What is happening right now? Where is it going? It's landing.
That was really a great explanation of the Federal Reserve. Probably one of the greatest I have seen in such a short clip. Let's check in with Maddie DeVera. It looks like Lisa Cook just got cooked.
From her position. Breaking news, y'all. This just in. President Trump has removed Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook from her position. Trump said that there is sufficient reason that Ms. Cook had made false statements on one or more mortgage applications. Presidents can only remove a federal official for cause, which has been historically understood to mean serious concerns about the official's ability to continue serving. So in Ms. Cook's case, it means that Trump has sufficient evidence to make that executive decision for him to remove her from her position.
Yep. Even the TikTokers know. Let's see. Disgraced federal gov Lisa Cook refuses to resign.
President Trump says that Fed Governor Lisa Cook has been relieved of her position on the Fed board over rising allegations of mortgage fraud. He posted the letter that he sent her on Truth Social outlining her firing, saying, quote, "The American people must be able to have full confidence in the honesty of the members overseeing the Federal Reserve. In light of your deceitful and potentially criminal conduct in a financial matter, they cannot and I do not have such confidence in your integrity." Now, Cook refusing to resign, reportedly saying this: President Trump reported to fire me for cause when no cause exists under the law, and he has no authority to do so. I will not resign. I will continue to carry out my duties to help the American economy as I have been doing since 2022. U.S. Federal Housing Director Bill Pulte, who has been on this case since day one, thanking the president for his actions, he said on X, "If you commit mortgage fraud in America, we will come after you, no matter who you are." Pulte also spoke with Maria last week on this program, who laid out Cook's situation.
Lisa Cook has big problems. They're going to continue to get bigger. It's very odd to see people try to twist backways, sideways, and upside down to justify mortgage fraud. This is a very serious crime. I believe the president has ample cause to fire Lisa Cook. We will go where mortgage fraud is. If mortgage fraud is with a Republican or a Democrat, it doesn't matter. If you commit mortgage fraud in President Trump's America, we're going to come after you. And Lisa Cook is no exception to that. In her case, she had a home in Michigan, and then 2 weeks later, she gets a loan in Michigan for her home. She declares it as her primary principal residence, and then literally 2 weeks later, she goes to an Atlanta condo, buys an Atlanta condo, secures a loan, and also declares that as her primary residence.
Okay, so to be here clear, Mitch, so the allegations of mortgage fraud, Bill Pulte has referred this to the DOJ and Pam Bondi. So Cook is under investigation. However, there is no decision there and charges have not been filed. The question now becomes the legal term under the law that governs the Federal Reserve. And that is where it's a little murky. This is unprecedented. We've never had a president, quote, fire a Federal Reserve Board governor in our nation's history. What do you make of this?
Well, there's a presumption of innocence out there, in general. That's the way our country was founded. Having said that,
She is a governor of the Federal Reserve Bank. The Federal Reserve Bank, amongst other things, is responsible for oversight of our entire financial system. And here you have an individual who said that Michigan and Atlanta, Georgia are both her principal residents. It could be a clerical oversight, give her the benefit of the doubt, but it doesn't look good. It doesn't smell good. And this is part of a pattern. We saw this with Senator Adam Schiff, and there are others, that, you know, people who are in a position of authority, like senators, like Fed governors, should not be making these kinds of mistakes. It's not a good look. But if it wasn't for the president's harsh criticism of the Fed and Jerome Powell and their decision-making prowess regarding interest rates and other things, this probably wouldn't be as hot of a political issue.
Well, Michael, so Trump cited Article 2 of the Constitution and the Federal Reserve Act of 1913 to say that she had been fired effective immediately. Now, she's hired Abbe Lowell, and they are working on her behalf. And the firm says they are planning to take whatever actions are needed to prevent this attempted illegal action by President Trump. Look, I mean, under the Federal Reserve Act, the president can fire again, and I said this twice now, for cause. The question is the legality of this, and we've never been here legally before. And so, you know, if you look at quotes by some of the legal scholars that are out there, Columbia's Catherine Judge, Fed scholar Peter Conti Brown, no clean precedent for this. It's typically an on-the-job type of misconduct. So I'm kind of jumping ahead to the legal fight that it looks like this is about to begin, or has begun as of last night.
You got to wonder what's going through her head. Like, where does this go? You know, and how effective can she be? And when the president of the United States sits there and says, "We don't need you anymore. Don't participate in this," and there's a legal battle coming up. We know it's going to happen, but in her current position, she's got no future here. You know, let's say they say, "Oh, it really wasn't there." No, she'll be tainted with this, and it really is, as you said, Mitch. This is. You have to be holier than thou if you're in these types of authoritative positions, because otherwise the person who's applying for mortgages, they may not have confidence and faith in the system itself if you don't really regulate it this way. Mm-hmm. So now it's Trump saying, nope, we're going to draw the line right now, no more mortgage fraud, and we're going to go after you. Okay, it's got to begin from the top.
Well, and also, too, Mitch, you know, the overall makeup of the board right now, just to be clear, she's only 2 years into a 14-year term. So obviously she's going to fight this, and she's hired Abbe Lowell. On the other side of this is the fact that if she does go, that gives the president another opportunity to appoint another Fed governor that might be more willing to have an open ear to the fact that interest rates likely need to be lowered. Let's be clear here.
Oh, they do. And just like AJ said at the beginning, once the rates are down, what happens? The American economy will be on fire. This is only the beginning of the cleaning of the house of the Federal Reserve. Next, make it Jerome Powell, would you? If you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. So this is not just about a Fed governor. It's about who runs America. For decades, the Federal Reserve operated like an untouchable monarchy, printing money, manipulating rates, crushing savers while enriching Wall Street. Now Trump is saying enough. If you're accused of mortgage fraud, you don't get to control monetary policy, period. Lisa Cook's lawyer claims that he has no authority to fire her, but here's what they won't tell you. She hasn't denied the fraud allegations, not once. Fed Chair Powell's silence speaks volumes. Even financial analysts are noting Cook's focus on process and not innocence. So here's my question. Should Federal Reserve governors be above the law? Yes or no? Because if Trump loses this fight, it means Fed officials can commit crimes and keep their jobs. That's not a republic. That's an oligarchy. The Fed has been its match. Make sure you grab your American Badass gear on your way out at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com and stand with accountability.